You should recall all your flour offerings. That's flour like in baking bread, like in making matzahs. That's what it's used for matzahs. Only the matzahs they used in the Pesach Mikdash were not like we use on Pesach, which are paper thin. Matzahs are as thick as a fist, and this long, and they have sides like that, like a barge. So you should recall your flour offerings, your animal offerings. Yadash Nasela should be graciously accepted. Hashem should give you according to your heart's desire. And all your good resolutions should be fulfilled. Esther Hama. Let us rejoice, or then we will rejoice. Bishu Asecha in your salvation, Hashem. Hashem Eloheinu Nidgal. We will raise the banner of Hashem on high, because He is our God. And Hashem should fulfill all your heart's requests. Now I know Hashem will save, will save His anointed one. That's Mashiach. Yanehu Mishmei Kodshe. And He will answer him from His highest heavens, highest holy heavens, b'gevures with might, a salvation from His right hand. Elev rechav, elev asusim. Some come with their chariots, some with their cavalry, or their modern version, the modern versions thereof. We come with the name of God on our lips. Hema Karov and Afalo, they stumbled and fell. We are standing up, stalwart and upright. Hashem, deliver us. The king should answer us. Hashem, you are our king. Please answer us on the day we call. Tanya. Okay, we're starting again. From the beginning of chapter 8, one more time. Page 127. Okay? Everybody got the place? 127. Anna Esther, you going to join us? Are you going to join us?
Yes, I'm just getting my pens.
You're still unpacking your suitcase?
Yes.
What else have you got in there?
I
Yeah, a desk, a chair, a computer, a portable gym, a pair of skis.
Yep.
What have you got in there?
Portable gym. Gotta keep strong.
Continuing the discussion by Macholes Asures about foods that are tied down. Shalocha and Nikru b'Shem Isur, that's why they're called Isur. Isur means forbidden. Forbidden means tied down. V'penei sha'af, to prove it, he's going to prove this now. Af, me, sha'achol meichel Isur, b'li haida. If a person ate something that was forbidden and he didn't realize it, he didn't know that it was not good, and he ate it l'shem shamayim, intending to use it in his service of God, use the energy. La'avoid Hashem b'koyach achilahi, he's going to use his energy to daven and to learn. V'gam Paul, and he did it. He davened and he learned. V'asa kain, he did it. But kara means he learned. Kara means to call. We say kriya b'Torah, likro, a bal koira in shul. The one who reads the Torah is called a bal koira. The word for reading is kriya. Kriya means calling. Kara, to call. Because what is it we learn from this, Hannah Esther? That when you learn words of Torah, you're calling Hashem. You're calling to Hashem, like If I would say Malka, you're going to look at me. Yael, it's going to look at me. When you call a person by name, they look at you. So the Torah is Hashem's name. It's one big, huge name with 600,000 letters. A name of 600,000. And when you read it, you're calling to Hashem. Okay, so he's Kaira. He reads Torah, he studies Torah, and he prays with energy. But koyach with the koyach, the energy, the power of having had whatever he ate. His cup of coffee, banana and yogurt. There used to be a student, she sat over there every single day. She'd have a banana with her yogurt. Ein hachiyuv sheba, ein hachayuv sheba, oila umislabeshes b'tevas atera. The energy in the food will not go up and somehow be mystically included in the holy words of Torah that this person is saying. But tefillah that he's praying with, and that he's the words that he's learning. Unlike food, which is heter, that is to say permitted, and therefore released, that the energy can return to its source and holiness. That's mysticism. It's purely mystical truth, which you would never know except that the Alter Rebbe reveals it. Page 128. Because the energy is trapped, it's captive, it's being held hostage by the klippas. Mishalish klippas hatameus, 3 impure klippas, depending on which level of klippa of Isur it is. There are many levels of impurity. Page 128, second paragraph. Now you might say, okay, I can understand that the words of the Torah are very strict. But what about what the rabbis teach us? Are they also as strict? Are they less strict? We know that if there's a conflict, if you have a conflict of 2 obligations at the same time, which one are you going to do? If one obligation is an edict of the rabbis, another obligation is from the Torah itself, then the Torah will win. It's stronger. So if I have a prohibition that's only from the rabbis, maybe it's a little more lenient. No, we don't get away with that because we have another teaching from the rabbis, which is in the second paragraph here, page 128. Chamurim divrei seifrim yosem midivrei Torah. Now, what do we know from divrei seifrim? What's an example of a rabbinical enactment? Well, one thing that everybody's very familiar with, there are 7 mitzvahs of the rabbis. There are 613 mitzvahs from the Torah, and there's 7 mitzvahs of the rabbis that are not mentioned in the Torah, but we keep them just like Torah. They are called the 7 mitzvahs of the rabbis. So we have 613 plus 7 makes 620. 620, if we want to do the numbers, 620 is going to be the numerical value of Kesser, like crown. Kesser is a crown, like crown heights. Yeah. Kesser is Chaf is 20, and Tov is 400, and Resh is 200, so it's 620 spells the crown. So 613 plus 7 equals the crown of Torah. All right, Kesser Torah. What's an example of one of the 7 mitzvahs of the rabbis? Saying blessings. It doesn't say anywhere in the Torah you should say blessings. But the rabbis said, no, you shouldn't. Blessings we say every day, we say because the rabbis instituted it. Why do we treat it so seriously? Because we have a commandment of the Torah in Parshas, called the Parsha of the Judges, which we read before Rosh Hashanah in the summertime. And it says there, we have to listen to the judges of our generation, which are the rabbis. So we have a mitzvah from the Torah. So when you're keeping a rabbinical mitzvah, you're actually keeping 2. You're keeping the mitzvah of the rabbis. You're keeping the mitzvah of the Torah. It tells you to listen to the rabbis. If you have a conflict, you might think that a mitzvah from the rabbis is less stringent, and the Torah, the Talmud tells us no, we treat it even more stringently. What's another mitzvah of the rabbis? One of the 7 coming up in 3 weeks' time.
Purim.
That's right, the Megillah, Purim, Hanukkah, Shabbos candles, Eruv, making provisions to be able to carry on Shabbos in a private domain. We make the private domain into a public. We make the public domain into a private domain, like the yard. We put up these poles and put a string across the top so it looks like an entrance. And that Erev Tavshilin, if Yontif comes out on Thursday and Friday, you got a problem. Because after Friday comes Shabbos. When are you going to cook for Shabbos? You're not allowed to cook on Yontif. You are allowed to cook on Yontif. You're not allowed to cook on Shabbos at all. On Yontif, you're allowed to cook. Because the rabbis, the Torah wants us to enjoy our Yontif. So you have to be able to cook. So we're allowed to cook. We're not allowed to make a new flame, but with a flame that's already going, we can cook. But you can only cook food that you're going to eat on that same day. What am I going to do for Shabbos? How can I cook on Shabbos? How can I cook on Yom Tov to have food for Shabbos? I am not allowed to cook on Shabbos. So therefore, the rabbis instituted that you can make an Erev Tavshilin. I'm going to start cooking for Shabbos on Wednesday before Yom Tov begins. Yom Tov begins Wednesday night. Yom Tov is Thursday and Friday, right? I start cooking on Wednesday. I say a certain blessing, which is the commandment of the rabbis to make this Erev for the sake of cooking, so I can cook for Shabbos on Yom Tov, so that we don't treat Yom Tov lightly. Remind us that Yom Tov, to be very careful about keeping Yom Tov. That's called Erev Tavshilin, one of the other 7 mitzvahs of the rabbis. Okay, so if I have this conflict, then I'm not allowed to have certain food because it's not permitted by the Torah or it's not permitted by the rabbis. Like what's an example of food that's not permitted by the rabbis? Like to have dairy product less than 6 hours after having meat. After meat, you have to wait 6 hours. And if you forget, so then that's called a rabbinic prohibition. Lochen, 3rd paragraph, page 128. Gama Yetzer Hara v'koyach hamisava l'dvarim ha'asurim. The Yetzer Hara wears many hats, so to speak. It works in many different directions. So one of the directions of the Yetzer Hara is that it wants us to desire things that are forbidden for us, whether it's food or other kinds of pleasures, other kinds of things that we lust for. So this koyach ha-misava, the misava means a desire for things. This power to desire something that's forbidden is one of the forms the Yetzer Hara can take. What kind? And this is called here. He calls us here. It's this Yetzer Hara actually assumes a character in the literature that we're learning, and the characters it's called a shade. The word shade, it's not a lamp shade, and it's not a window shade. The word shade means a demon, right? Shading. The story in the memoirs of the Friedrich Rebbe's memoirs, at the time of the Baal Shem Tov, there was a couple, a man and his wife, who used to swear a lot. They were Jewish, and they used to swear a lot. They were low people, and they used foul language, and they used to curse. And when they died, people would go into the house where they lived, and they would get chased out. There was bad spirits in the place. Though they were called Shin Dalids, Shadim, demons. And the Baal Shem Tov came, the Frierdiker Rebbe, you can read about it in the memoirs of the Frierdiker Rebbe, volume 2, about how the Baal Shem Tov came and exorcised the Shadim. He got rid of them. And this Yetzer Hara is a Yetzer Hara connected with the source of life of the non-Jewish nations of the world, because their souls also come from the same place, but different levels, obviously, in the realms of the unclean klippas. Klippas hatameus. The word for unclean is not dirty, it's tame. Tame means impure klippas. So that is the Yetzer Hara for forbidden things. Why does a person have a desire for, let's say, going to a movie on Shabbos? I've seen, unfortunately, young people sometimes they feel discontent with their lives, and they think maybe it'll be better if they don't tie themselves down to the way of Torah and mitzvahs, and they're going to break out and see for themselves, and they'll get on a Sunday and go watch a movie on Friday night. Heaven forbid. Or a person might be tempted to eat foods that are forbidden. Heaven forbid. That's a Yetzer Hara of, that's what he says here. This is a Yetzer Hara of the nations of the world, because these are things that are out of bounds. They're completely forbidden for a Jewish person. But now we have things. We have a Yetzer Hara, which is a Jewish Yetzer Hara. Can you imagine a Jewish Yetzer Hara? The Jewish Yetzer, if the Yetzer Hara is to get you to do things that are forbidden, so we have a Jewish Yetzer Hara that will entice you to do things that are permissible in a not permissible way. In other words, to have kosher food, to have seconds and thirds and fourths, to gorge yourself, to overdo it, to eat. So you're serving your stomach. We want to eat in order to serve God. A person could eat the Yetzer Hara, Jewish Yetzer Hara will want him to eat to serve his stomach. I told you the amusing story once. An in-law of mine was on a plane from Brazil, and there was a very, very heavy-set person in the first class section. He was so big, he needed 2 seats. And everything, all the food that they brought first class, they bring you them. A lot of everything, whatever you want. He had seconds and thirds of everything. I mean, he was huge, and he ate tremendous amount of food on this plane. Because whatever they gave him, he ate, and he asked for more and more. Then came the ice cream for dessert. Would you have ice cream? She says, no, I can't have ice cream. I'm on a very strict diet, he said. So that's what the desire, this craving for food, for another helping at the Viennese table or another helping of the 7-layer cake. This is a Jewish Yetzer Hara. There was a saying amongst the Hasidim of the Alter Rebbe: what is forbidden is 100% forbidden. What is permissible, be very careful about it. Better not. Or like I told you once a few times already, try, instead of fasting, try to leave over a spoonful of something that you really enjoy that's on your plate. Leave over 1 spoonful. Break your Yetzer Hara. Now, what's on your plate is kosher. So it's a Jewish Yetzer Hara to finish the plate absolutely clean. When my children were little, now they're all grown up. When my children were little, my wife used to urge them to finish their plate. And there was something they didn't like. They said, no, we're leaving that for the Yetzer Hara. Or if there was a nice dessert, like ice cream or something like that, to eat something that was healthy, they would say, we don't have room. Came to the ice cream and said, I thought you didn't have room. We said, we have other rooms. Okay. Now the shoe's on the other foot. They have to raise their own children. On the other hand, okay, so this is called a Jewish Yetzer Hara. When a person eats, what does he say here? Just to satisfy your craving. In which case, what happens? Even the permissible food that you're eating, it's kosher, but it gets schlepped down into the realm of the impure klippas. And he says here, this is a Jewish Yetzer Hara. But there's a saving grace to it, a saving factor. And what is that? That is that when a person will do tshuva on the fact that he was indulging himself or herself just for the sake of their appetite, just because they like the food, and not eating with a godly intention in order to have energy to serve Hashem, when a person does tshuva, conquers his appetites, starting by leaving over that one spoonful, he gets control of his cravings, and then he or she is able to retrieve that life energy that was in the clutches of the Yetzer Hara and bring it into the realms of holiness. It can be saved. The hostage energy can be released. So that's very, very important concept, tremendously important concept. So here a person, you see, what this tells us is that first of all, there's tremendous hope for a person. All is never completely lost. And even if a person eats food that is forbidden food, even that could be redeemed. But for that, you need a much deeper kind of tshuva. And the other thing it teaches us is that everything has to be dealt with in moderation. Page 129. Mikol Mokem, Koydem Shachazar. Now, what about in the meantime? I overate. Oh, I wish I'd never had that pastry on the Viennese table. I wish I never had it. Okay, but you did have it. So what? What are you going to do now? In the meantime, well, I'm going to do tshuva, but in the meantime, I didn't do tshuva. So until I do tshuva, ad kaidim shechazar lekedusha, before I do tshuva and retrieve this energy and release the energy from the clutches of the Yetzer Hara, who sitra achra v'klipa, it remains sitra achra within me, and it clouds my vision. It makes it hard for me to make a holy-based decision. If I'm not eating with a kosher attitude, how am I going to make the right decisions? How am I going to understand things clearly? I'm prejudiced. And it says in the Tanya, in a footnote from the Rebbe, that sometimes a person who was really in trouble, spiritually in trouble, and was deeply committed to transgressions that he or she had done, and the Yetzer Hara had taken control of them so that they could not do tshuva. It was very hard for them to do tshuva, and the Yetzer Hara will release them, just like that. The Yetzer Hara will sometimes take a chance and release a high neshama that fell into bad ways and was taken hostage. So we're speaking metaphorically. Was taken hostage by the Yetzer Hara, and the Yetzer Hara will release this person, hoping that he or she will corrupt others. Like, if you want to put it in modern terms, like if a person was captured by the enemy, captured by Hamas, heaven forbid, and was brainwashed, tortured, brainwashed, until this person became a Hamas sympathizer, and maybe they would let him go, that he or she would make others into sympathizers, so to speak. So the Yetzer Hara will release a neshama sometimes hoping that it will bring greater benefit to the cause of the Yetzer Hara, to the Yetzer Hara side. Okay, page 129, second. I guess this is the first paragraph, first full paragraph. Before a person does tshuva and rescues the energy from the food energy that was captured by the Yetzer Hara, who Yetzer Hara v'klipa, v'gam achar kach, and even after he does tshuva, now the plot thickens. Even after a person does tshuva, is everything good now? Yes, almost. But there's only one problem that you took. It's like you have a beautiful off-white blouse. I don't know what material it would be, what it would be called, you know. And you go to a wedding and some food gets spilled on your beautiful blouse. Oh, so you take it to the cleaners and the cleaner cleans it, but still it's not the same. There's a stain. There's a hint of a stain. So similarly, when a person is eating food that's permissible, but not in a, you didn't do it in the right way, and it fell into the domain of the klippas, and the person does tshuva, and the energy has reverted to holiness, but even afterwards, gam achar kach, in the second paragraph on page 129, harashime mimeno nisher dav baguf. There's still a stain on the neshama. Liyeski mikol Michael. Why should this be? And he answers us with the third paragraph on page 129, because mikol Michael mashke, everything you eat and everything you drink, nasa tekev dama obasar mibasare, it becomes your flesh and blood. It becomes you. It becomes your physical being. So what are we going to do? What am I mean, this is me. This is my body. What am I going to do with it? That's why burial is a kindness to the person. Because by being, after 120 years, when a person is buried, that's a cleansing of the body. And it's like you can imagine your chiffon blouse going to the cleaners and being subjected to harsh chemicals, but it's very happy because now it's going to get really clean. So the body, our body, is getting cleaned after we pass away. It gets cleaned so that it will be pure and clean and will be able to benefit from all the mitzvahs that were done in the time of Techiyah, when the body is resurrected. And then it will be entirely holy. And at that point, just like we strive that our neshama should guide our physical life, now, in the time of Techiyah, it's going to be the other way around, that the body itself will be inspiring the neshama. This is called chibut hakever, which is the suffering that the body goes through in the grave, the nakoise, which cleanses it, ulatahara, and purifies it, mitum ase, from all of the impurity, shikibel bahanas olam hazeh, which it unfortunately acquired through taking pleasure in physical things. Mitumas klipas noiga, and this is from the pleasures that we take from permissible things, and permissible things we remember. We learned this. The source of the energy in permissible things is from klipas noiga. It's a klippa, but it's a permissible klippa, and we can elevate it. Page 130. And this applies across the board to everybody, except to the great tzaddikim like Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi. I don't suppose you would remember what does Rabbi Yehuda Anosi stand for? What did he contribute to us?
The Mishnah.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, ma'am. So it says, Rabbi Yehuda, he's called just for short Rebbe, Shalei nena me'elam hazeh kol yamav. He never took any pleasure from physical things in his entire life. He did not indulge in anything just for his own personal sake. Rabbeinu HaKodesh. Okay. Bottom of page 130. Any questions, comments at this point? Shayna? No? Everybody with the program? Now, what about idle talk? Or what about a person who's Devarim B'Teilim? Remember in chapter 1, we learned about the 4 elements: fire, water. So fire is a source of anger and arrogance, and water is a source of desire for pleasure. So we've just been talking about the desire for the Yetzer Hara for pleasure. Oh, it's at 10 after 9 already. Okay, so we're going to have to stop here. We'll continue tomorrow with this discussion. We're going to move into the element of air, which is the source of empty talk, idle talk. What about if a person just talk too much? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Good
I
morning.
hope everybody remembered.
Yes.
So we have a beautiful day. Miss Hashem.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi Pape. Simcha.
Thank you very much, everybody. Nice to have you.
Do you remember,
Mora?